There are a couple of key positions in the pitching motion that I believe are really important. I normally refer to those positions as checkpoints. There are three main checkpoints that I really focus on, and those are when the club is parallel to the ground in the backswing, the impact position, and the finish. To help me explain these three checkpoints in today's video, I'm going to use a great visual of fellow Mizuno staff players Luke Donald's pitching motion. So with the help of that visual, we're going to try to improve these three important checkpoints. So let's get to it. So the first checkpoint is when the club is parallel to the ground in the backswing. Here it's important to focus on two things. We want the hands to be directly above the toe line and the club heads to be directly in line with the hands or just outside the hands. It's important to have the club directly above the toe line and not too far outside or inside, because then you have to make big adjustments in the downswing to get the club back to that position, because the hands start pretty much right on top of the toe line. The second thing that's really important that I mentioned is to feel like the club head is more in line or just outside the hands. Too many players have the club head way inside the hands, and if you let gravity take over there, you have some weight to the club head, the club is going to tend to fall on the plane. Because if you move the club that far outside, you have to put a lot of effort to get the club back out in front of you, which is difficult to do. So most often when you see players have the club head inside the hands, they tend to bottom out too early because the club falls behind the golf ball, okay? To be able to get the club to fall more down on plane, we need to have the club either just in the middle of the hands or outside the hands. From here, the club is going to fall more directly on top of the golf ball instead of behind the golf ball, okay? So that's checkpoint one. If you look at Luke Donald here, his club head is pretty much directly in the middle of his hands. And he also talks a lot about feeling like the club head is more outside the hands to become more consistent. So that's checkpoint number one. The second checkpoint is impact. At impact, we want to feel like we really release that club shaft so that it gets to the ball straighter and more neutral. Too many players have too much shaft lean where they push the hands forward, which is going to expose the front part of the wedge, the leading edge, which is going to cause the club head to dig into the ground. Instead, we want to feel like we really release that club head so that it gets to the ball with a more neutral shaft lean, which is going to help us to expose the back part of the club, the bounce, which is going to allow the club head to move through the turf without getting stuck. Another really important thing to focus on is to make sure you keep your weight and upper body more in front of the golf ball throughout the whole motion. Too many players try to help the ball up in the air by shifting the weight to the back foot and leaning back. If you do that, you're going to tend to bottom out way behind the golf ball. So really make sure that your upper body and weight stays to the left throughout the whole motion. If you look at Luke Donald once again, he does this beautifully. You can see at impact, his shaft lean is very neutral and he has all his weight and upper body more to the left or more in front of the golf ball throughout the whole motion. And the final checkpoint is the finish position. At the finish, we want to feel like the body is fully rotated, where the hips and chest face more towards the target. We want to feel like our arms are relaxed, that the hands are more in the middle of the body, and that the angle of the club face match the angle of the upper body. First of all, we want to feel like the arms are relaxed to be able to control the radius, the distance the club head moves from the body throughout the whole motion. If we extend the arms by pushing the arms down in the downswing, we lengthen the radius and we're going to tend to hit too much down on the golf ball and hit a lot of shot fats. If we pull the club towards us, we shorten the radius and we're going to tend to top a lot of shots. So both those moves, the extension and the pull, requires a lot of force in the arms. So if we can feel like the arms are more relaxed, it's a lot easier to control the radius. The second thing is to make sure that we're fully rotated and that the hands are more in the middle of the body. If the hands are more in the middle of the body, we have controlled the swing path. If the hands are too far left, most likely our path is moving too much from the outside in. If the hands are too much to the right, most likely our path moved too much from the inside out. And the last thing, we want to make sure that the club face, the angle of the club face match the angle of the upper body. If the face is too closed, most likely we have too much face roll where we close in the club head through the shot. If the face is too open, we do the opposite. Most likely we kept too much loft on the face or open the face throughout the whole motion. If you look at Luke Donald once again, you can really see how he's fully rotated. His arms are relaxed, his hands are more in the middle of the body, and the club face match the angle of his upper body. So those are the 3 very important checkpoints. If you do those well, you can improve your pitching motion tremendously. Thank you very much, Luke. So there you have it, guys. Improve these 3 important positions, and I promise you your pitching is going to improve tremendously. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more really good short game related content in the future, and let's improve together.